Coming Up for Air is a soundtrack to overcoming like adversity. It's a meditation on loss, trauma, and that quest for self-preservation. And you really do traverse like the human condition on this album.
Thank you.
In your own words, and you can be as transparent
That's so
as
nice.
you like.
That's such a nice thing to say, raw.
In your own words, you can be as transparent as you like. What were some of the challenges you were facing in your personal and professional life that inspired the narrative of this album?
So whilst I was making The Worst Generation, all of the stuff that happened to me whilst I was making that album, think about my emotions in like, I don't know if this is gonna make sense, but think about my emotions and the experiences in life, like pro rata. You experience it, and then the payoff is you get to write music about it. Do you get what I'm saying? So because of that, everything I was writing on TWG, I'd already experienced maybe the 4 or 5 years before that, and I'd never had an album before, so it took a little bit longer to kind of get my head around how far back I needed to go to like get that music off, or how present I needed to be to get the music off for TWG. So everything I experienced that I wrote about on Coming Up for Air was during the TWG time. So I tore my Achilles, like my Achilles tendon across the back of my leg, and that was a terrible injury. Like I was in a boot for like 6 months. So like I was recording stuff, like we did the soundtrack for Jujutsu Kaisen in that time, and we did like other stuff outside of the album as well, and like certain videos that we couldn't shoot because of the way my leg was, or planning, or whatever the case may be. I lost my grandma in 2020 as well, which is what my radio was about, to lung complications and stuff, and like I exited like a long-term relationship after COVID, like a lot of people did. Do you get me? Mutually, and it's always love, but it was like time. Do you know what I mean? And then I also kind of found myself discovering I had a bit of an eating disorder as well. I had like slight body dysmorphia, and it tracked because when I was younger, I had a lot of issues with my weight and my appearance, and obviously kids can be cruel, innit? Do you get me? So that was part of my like trauma, and I got out of that. I started boxing and doing other stuff. That was kind of my way of like fighting back against it inside. And that's one of the reasons why out of the blue you'll see me boxing, but I'm blind because I don't know what effects it's going to have, positive or negative, into the future, as well as other reasons. So yeah, it's like, it's all very encompassing of whatever I was going through at that time. So everything you're hearing on it, love, loss, trauma, etc., and even up until like present day, like going from Out the Blue into Jaded, into Out the Blue into Consumer Rhythm, is the story of like, I've just done my album and people love it, but now I'm in a creative slump, and I don't know what I want for myself anymore, because I've got everything that I felt was my identity off already. So now I don't want to leave my house unless somebody's paying me. Do you get what I'm saying? And then Out the Blue is like, okay, I have to address the fact that I need to come out of survival mode, because I'm not just surviving anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm able to live off of what I do. I'm able to help my family off of what I do. I'm able to enjoy myself to some extent off of what I do. Not always. The waves will always come and go. But right now, I'm not in a bad place. You need to like shut up and be a bit more grateful about what you have, and address the things in yourself that make it difficult for you to do that. So that's when Out the Blue came. And I'm addressing the trauma, the things that I knew when I was a kid, and whatever the case may be. And then into Consumer Rhythm, I've come out my house physically now, and I've gone to a party, and I've met a girl, and this is what the girl wants from me. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, oh, I know who you are. That means, and I know you've been living off of music, and you're not adding up to be like what people would consider the typical rapper, but you're still doing sick stuff. So take me Selfridges. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, take me on a date. And it's like, bruv, are you actually trying to get to know me, or are you just trying to like have me as an accessory to you because we look good together, or I dress differently, or whatever the case may be? Do you know what I'm saying? Man, I just want you to see me as a normal person. So it's like all of those moments, and then that into Loki is like, can I swear on here, by the way? And then that into Loki is like, fuck it, I'm going back in my house. Like, forget it. And then I'm in my house for 3 months, and it's like, yo, where you been? Like, I've been away, because this is, whatever's going on outside is not for me right now. Do you know what I mean? Because I tried to meet the world with the sincerity that it didn't give me back, and it was in form of this situation with this person at this time, and whatever the case may be. So Coming Up for Air as an album is about everything I went through during the time, funnily enough, during the time I was creating TWG, and in the years after, so 2021 and 22.
In the intro, is it you singing?
No.
So I found throughout there's like featured vocals throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the one? So I assumed that you were tapping into vocals as well.
I mean, I do sing a lot more on this album than the previous one, but not all of the vocal is me.
So in the intro, there's a line that song says, "My head's underwater, stuck in disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
These waves crashing harder, I need some release."
Mm-hmm.
And then throughout the album, there is this recurring motif of water, like the ocean,
Yep.
sea, being submerged,
Yep.
and then of course coming up for air.
Mm-hmm.
So like break down like that recurring theme of like water. Is it restorative? Is it
It's
drowning?
It's preparing you. So essentially, first question, to answer the first question, it's Elkin. His name is Elkin, elkin.exe. He also produced Vibe Check, which isn't on that album, but was a single before. And he's just an amazing producer. He's quite young. He's like 22, 21. And he's dope. Like, he's super, super dope. And I met him a couple years before when he was like 19. And he's done some great stuff for like Russ Damon and etc. Like sent sample packs to people and whatever. And he's just a really, really musically inclined individual. And I proper respect him, and I've learned like some stuff off of him as well. So that's his vocal at the beginning of the album on Wake Up and Start Again. And he just, originally he sent me that as a song called Disbelief. And I was like, all right, I'm going to take this in the studio. And we tried some stuff. And I was super rigid about that, because I feel like the decisions are a big part of what make an album great. The musical ones, not necessarily just who plays on it, or what you say. It's the moments where you just decide you're not going to speak and whatever, or you're going to put somebody else there in front to like convey the message just because they have something you don't have. So originally it was a song, and I tried some stuff and I was like, no, this isn't it. So I just said, I'm just going to take this thing that I feel really strongly about, this sample that made me want to go and write this song in the first place, and just use that as the intro. Do you get me? And I played through the album, obviously, like you do as the artist, you play through it a million times. Played through the album, and whenever I got to the end, I was always looking forward to just hearing his voice again in that kind of really transic, like doubled down, like thick, innocent vocal way. Do you know what I mean? Wake up, like he's like rising again. Do you know what I mean? And I love that because the album itself is, like I said, it was preparing. So to answer your second question, it was preparing. It's like a fortification album. It's not like, see yourself in me. It's like, just listen to the story, and eventually you'll find yourself in the positions to go, oh, this is what he was talking about. I feel like that now. Do you get me? And it's like, you have to wake up and start again. Think of it like a Monday morning. You have to wake up and start again. And you will sink again. You will. Like, it will happen again. There will be no time where you are up for air, and you will always be up for air. Whether if it's not money, it will be family. If it's not family, without being pessimistic, it will be something. Do you know what I mean? And this album is, I want you to become familiar enough with it so that you know what to go to when you do start to go down again. Do you get me? And it prepares you and makes it easier. Think of it like a wetsuit. Think of it like you're wearing this now and you go down. It's going to be harder to swim up because your clothes are going to get saturated and you're going to be heavy. Think of listening to Coming Up for Air as a wetsuit. It's like every song is you putting on another like preparing yourself to put on this wetsuit, and by the time you get to the end, you've put on the wetsuit. So when you sink again, it's just a little bit easier to swim back up. Do you get me? To wake up and start again, essentially.
Sorry, I just found myself getting lost. I mean, yeah, just brilliant conversation.